I'm Al Ifold. I farm here at Mallinong, which is northeast of Meningie. Well, I've been in this district for about 40 years and this farm here for about 8. We farm wheat, beans, canola. We used to be a mixed farming enterprise, but about 8 years ago we went 100% cropping. We're just enjoying focusing all our energies into a continual cropping program.
I'm Matt Howe. I'm an agronomist at Platinum Ag in Meningie, South Australia. I've been an agronomist for 12 years now, and I've been the main agronomist out here at Magic Dirt Farming since 2019. Soil amelioration broadly means changing either the chemical or physical structure of the soil through any physical or chemical means. So what we're doing locally here is identifying constraints and then beginning to rectify accordingly to economic return.
We've sort of tried to make a bit of a rule that we won't Bednar anything until we've had a pH mapped. If we do have a pH mapped and find we've got highly acidic soils, we variable rate lime to that soil, then put the Bednar in. It's an expensive exercise to do, so we need to get it right, and we may as well use that ripping process to incorporate lime at the same time. So we're doing 3 things. We're bringing clay up to make the soil more wettable. We're incorporating lime down to sort out soil pH issues, and we're getting rid of hard pans, which is a bigger thing than we ever realised, especially in our lighter soils. So we're trying to do 3 jobs at once, so that's why we put them in the right order.
So the Bednar has been the best fit because of a couple of reasons. One, because it is adaptable to different soil types. It's been able to lift clay from shallow sand over clay soils, but at the same time it's also been able to mix our topsoil and get some topsoil inclusion to depth, and by doing that we've been able to change both the physical and the chemical properties of the soil, which allows the optimum zone for crop growth. So the Bednar fits best because it has multiple use patterns, which we've got highly variable soil types in our area, which we could be driving anywhere from a heavy clay flat to a limestone ridge to a sand ridge or a sand over clay ridge within 100 metres. And this allows us to have a machine that's strong enough to take all the different soil types, yet still do a job on all of the different soil types.
Probably the biggest push has been in the last 3 or 4 years since we've had this Bednar ripper, and we've found that it's a great fit for a lot of our soil types. Now, it's not just about this, it's about working out your soil types and working out your soil pHs, and not by guessing but by testing. I guess the best thing we've found about it is it's lifting production in a whole paddock system. We've got areas in paddocks that were underproducing and probably getting worse with no till and increased water repellents, and they're becoming highly acidic too because of the removal and the use of high-end fertilisers. So we're trying to solve a heap of problems at once, but once we do, we get those problem areas back in, and suddenly we're getting a much higher production out of the land that we currently own.
Yeah, so working with the Bednar, I've seen very much a big change in the consistency of yield. Before working or utilising the Bednar, we could see yields that varied from 1 tonne to the hectare to 7 tonne to the hectare in wheat. Now we see a consistent lift in those low production areas. So our top end yield has stayed much the same, but our lower end yield has lifted quite a bit, which increases our average. And the other main advantage we've seen is we're able to get crops to grow in places we weren't able to get them before. Previously we were growing quite a lot of lupins because they're acid tolerant, but now we can grow faba beans, which have a far stabler economic return and a far better place in the rotation than lupins do, because we can grow them now that we're dealing with our soil constraints.
There's not much point in putting this thing into the country unless it's right for soil pH. Over the last 2 years we've been really diligent about it and Verus mapped the whole place. We've variable rate spread the whole place with lime, so now we're just playing catch up with this thing, and we'll keep doing that. And it's amazing where you can use it. As long as it's not pulling up stones, you might as well put it in. We seem to think there's a benefit in just about all soil types that it'll go into.
The Bednar has had such a rapid adoption in South Australia because it's got such a wide use of soil types and it's dealing with more than just one constraint. I've been right out to Oyen with Frontier Farming Systems and AgriVision consultants, and they're using the Bednar out there to deep rip and mix the sand. It's purely deep sand because they reduce their non-wetting by diluting their sand, but they also open up their profile to allow a bigger bucket for water capture by removing compaction. We haven't had a case in the last 3 years since we started using the Bednar where it hasn't paid for itself in year one. So anything we get in the rotation after that's pure profit. So we've had canola results that, at times that aren't believable.
In areas where our lower performing areas in paddocks, especially in crops like canola, believe it or not, we've managed to make those areas probably our highest producing areas by busting up hard pans, bringing clay up. It's an absolute perfect environment for canola, or just about any crop, but that's a standout. It's almost pushed us into the direction of now we've got new soil types that we have to start addressing, the traditionally better performing, and now where we're going to have to start focusing because we've got such a big kick out of this. We've got to play a bit of catch up with some other soil types. It's not the only tool in the toolbox, but it's a very integral part of it. So it's all about improving production of what you already own.